Hi everyone, my name is Patrick Home, Academy co-founder, and in today's discussion, we're speaking with Asa Cox from Arcanum. Hi Asa, how you doing?
Doing very well, thank you, Patrick. Good to be here.
Good. So a little bit of background on Asa. He's the founder and CEO of Arcanum and focused on making machine learning more accessible to progressive mid-sized enterprises by empowering data owners and removing the IT barriers to rapid return on investment. So in today's discussion, Asa, we'll be sort of understanding the difference between sort of AI or artificial intelligence and machine learning being ML and its practical implementations. So I think a good starting point is to understand, well, what are the differences between AI and ML? Over to you.
Yeah, it's a good question, and one where the lines are pretty blurred, to be honest. I even find myself saying AI ML rather than actually separating them entirely. Um, and I think when you look at kind of more hardline classification, artificial intelligence to me is when a machine can do something that is at a superior level to a human, right? And whether that's at speed or at scale or at complexity, it can do it, that narrow task, it can do it faster and better than a human. So if we think about the ability to scan through millions of rows of an Excel spreadsheet and come up with a prediction as to what the next row would look like, humans aren't able to do that anywhere near as well as AI. So I would say that was kind of artificial intelligence. Machine learning is the kind of construct where it can learn, the machine can learn by getting more and more data and improve upon itself. So a self-learning algorithm. So in that example, again, the machine learning algorithm will get better at predicting the next row based on more and more data being put through the algorithm. So that's how I very basically separate it. But I think in terms of the business application, the business understanding, you can kind of blob them both together.
Yeah, okay. Now I remember I must be 6 or 7 years ago now. I was in Hong Kong on a business accelerator program, and there was the founder there who had done a sort of AI product where what it was doing was recognizing sort of issues with the knee. He focused on the kneecap, the knee area, I think, from memory.
Oh, yeah, nice.
And
Yeah.
what he was doing was teaching the machine to learn of different conditions, ailments within the knee. I think it was the knee, yeah. But he was talking about uploading thousands of scans and teaching the machine until finally it could, identify some, problems with the knee area.
Mm.
So I think that's, talks to what you're
Yeah.
talking about. And it'll sort of lead into what we'll be discussing in this session. So I guess within, we talk about the practical implementations of machine learning, for businesses. And certainly Academy, we're a partner management software. Companies use our software to engage, their channel partners. And one of those practical implementations is something that we've been working on, where you have maybe a manufacturer engaging retailers, and retailers obviously need to upload sales claims because the manufacturer can't always get access to sales data from its channel partners, which may link to some, incentive reward. So we're working with you where you can literally, drag and drop, a sales invoice, and then the machine will be able to literally just hoover all of that information and load it into the system.
Yeah, exactly. And so we're kind of looking at that general document processing. We're kind of talking at it in a way that's kind of like OCR Gen 2, like Generation 2 OCR. So you think about the past and quite often the present generation of optical character recognition. So that kind of OCR is you create a template and you say the date will always be here, the description will always be here. And every time you get a new document, you have to create a new template. Whereas we're working on the Gen 2 OCR, which is natural language processing. So it actually understands what does a date look like, what does a line item look like, what does a vendor reference look like, and what do the amounts and the taxes all look like. So then you've got an AI that has been trained to understand what a document looks like instead of having to set up a template by template. So then working with Academy means that your customers could have a range of invoices or receipts, and you haven't got to set up a template for each individual one, which clearly isn't a scalable solution.
Yeah.
But by using our Gen 2 OCR, we can kind of pump in a wide variety of documents and get the right information out.
So what is that level of accuracy now? So you talk about sort of Gen 2, OCR. Obviously, the machine needs to learn. I mean, just to sort of, so everyone understands sort of, so I mean, maybe just give a bit of background on what you've created, because I understand that you have sort of integrated with Amazon and some of their tools. So maybe just talk briefly about sort of, where you're coming from in the world of business.
Yeah, so we've now got what we're calling a machine learning platform as a service. So at one end, you've got the business technologist user who can't code like me, but wants to be able to get machine learning outcomes. So that would be connect to Google Drive, connect OCR, output results to Excel spreadsheet, right? And I'd be able to pull that together and make it happen. Then our next user is the IT person in the middle who isn't a machine learning expert, but they want to be able to connect it, deploy it, put it in their own cloud environment. And then the third one is when you kind of get to scale and you want to do all this machine learning stuff at a big scale. And we've got that kind of infrastructure kind of layer there as well. So what we've done is taken kind of best in class machine learning algorithms and made them accessible to those different users. Now, we quite often get the question, well, if we're a good developer, we can just get those APIs ourselves. But what you find, or what we found, and this is through kind of years of experience, is it isn't quite as simple as that. You can't just hook into the AWS API and it does exactly what you want it to do. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One is they're building for the largest, most generic use cases possible. And in the world of language, that is actually pretty low, right? So it may well be able to recognize some fields, but it's been very generalized. And so we're taking the outputs of that and actually turning them into something which is usable for different use cases. So we're kind of wrapping around the AWS machine learning models and doing what we call pre-processing, which is tidying up some of the documents and formatting so then it can work. And then post-processing, which is where it doesn't recognize something, we may loop around and use a different algorithm to kind of find the stuff that's necessary. So we're kind of bundling it all together so somebody like Academy and your customers can actually make use of it.
Yeah, fantastic. And I guess when we're talking about machine learning and those practical implementations, we should talk about the value, right? So if we go back to this use case of, okay, you've got a manufacturer, they've got retailers, and the manufacturer needs to get the sales data from the retailer so they can obviously incentivize them. Retailers are time poor, right? They might be making 5, 10, 20 sales a day, whatever it may be. They don't have time to be filling in complex sales claim forms just to share that sales data with the manufacturer. So I guess, in the use case we've sort of been working on, they literally just drop the file in and it just captures it, job done. So they could drop in, 10 files a day, 10 sales a day, takes them no more than several seconds per upload, right? Job done.
That's right.
Nothing else they need to do.
And that's what we're looking at really in a lot of cases is freeing up people's time to do more value-added tasks, right? And whether you're working in an enterprise and you're internally processing invoices, maybe you're part of an accounts payable function and you don't want to do the copy and pasting, which you shouldn't do because you're an intelligent human, and then machines can do that. Or if you're not incentivized to do that task, like in your kind of retailer scenario, there's no real value add for them. It's kind of to the manufacturer is where the value is. And so it's kind of trying to find those opportunities where the machines should be doing those things because the humans need to be doing more value added tasks.
Yeah, which is selling.
And it's got to the point where the technology now can do it. It's not hard. It's not expensive. It's really now getting it to the point of being accessible to businesses of all sizes.
And I guess the other value add is accuracy. Humans make mistakes, right?
Yeah. And that's the funny thing, right? We find this argument quite often, right? What level of accuracy is it? And there's an assumption that the machines should be 100% accurate at all times, even though we know the humans are definitely not 100% accurate at all times. You kind of see the same thing with the autonomous vehicle argument, right? As we shouldn't let autonomous vehicles free on the road because they may cause accidents, ignoring the fact that humans create accidents all the time. So I think we've still got a little bit of this expectation that the machines should be perfect if they're going to replace a human. but actually there's a gap between the middle, which is the humans will inevitably make errors, and the machines need to be trained a little bit more in order to be completely perfect.
Yeah, interesting. So could you talk to me a little bit more about other sort of practical implementations of machine learning in other areas of your business outside of what you're obviously doing with Academy today?
So we've got three core focuses really, and it is predominantly in documents and unstructured data, and we focused on that because typically 80% of a company's data is unstructured, and whether that's documents, reports, presentations, emails, Slack messages, so whatever it may be, it's a lot of it's unstructured, and so that's where we're kind of focusing our time and attention. And then we've got three core functions. One is search or knowledge access, extraction, which is what we were just talking about in that use case, and then reports and summarization. So in search, we're using cognitive search, so you can ask the questions of the data. So not just a fancy control F kind of function, but being able to ask pretty complex questions of it. So like we get with Google, but being able to do that with our own company data. So that's one. The second thing is then extraction. And so we've got models now which don't just do invoices and receipts. They can do CVs, insurance policies, sustainability reports, whatever. You can kind of build models for that. And then the final one is then report generation or summarization. So if you think about a use case of a lawyer, they've got this new file that comes in with a whole bunch of documents. Instead of having to read everything and write their own summary, they can use our AI to come up with either a singular paragraph or a whole kind of page of a summary of the contents of that document. And so we kind of see a future where, again, those manual tasks, repetitive tasks that humans shouldn't need to do, whether it be finding information, converting unstructured data into structured data, that extraction piece, or in the generating of reports, all of that should be able to be done by machines to allow humans to do more valuable tasks.
Yeah, fantastic. What about, sort of getting started right? I mean, take for example, the use case we're working on, manufacturer to retailer. Where do you start in terms of teaching the machine to learn? Can you explain a little bit more about, is it a case of getting, 100 or 500 sales receipts and then feeding them into the machine and it learning? Can you talk to a little bit about, what that approach is and how you sort of get things moving?
Yeah, absolutely. And we're getting to a point, we've got to a point in time where AI is ready to do a lot of those tasks. And there's these things called massively pre-trained models. So some people may have heard of GPT-3 or DALI or OpenAI or these kinds of things. And they've been already have AI trained on tens of millions of documents or images, which gives it an initial capability. And so AWS is similar with their Textract document processing AI. So it's already been pre-trained to do a certain amount of things. And what that means is you haven't got to give it 10, well, you may have to give it tens. You haven't got to give it hundreds or thousands of documents and tell it exactly what is what. You can start with a single invoice and go, okay, how good is this at getting the information out that I want? And then in order to get the information out, it really is a case of updating the fields, being able to look in that document and go, this is what that field looks like. And then the next time it'll work. I mean, it's a very short cycle now of it can't do it to it can do it because of these massively pre-trained models of such incredible capability. But you need the expertise, a little bit of data science, a little bit of machine learning, a little bit of software engineering, which is what our team has, in order to really make those improvements really, really quick. So you can literally start with a single document and see how good the AI is, which is super exciting compared to where we were. I'd say even 12 months ago, maybe 2 years ago, we were talking in the realms of thousands of documents in order to train an AI, whereas now you can get started with one.
And how does that sort of progress? You launch a business solution using machine learning. The machine's trained to do something. Document recognition, extraction. Do you need to sort of tweak things as you move forward? You may identify a few sort of errors. What does that look like, Asa?
Yeah, and that's an emerging kind of UX field. So there is going to need to be a human in the loop, right? You need kind of the elegant failure kind of mode, if you like. So the AI, unless you really limit the scope of what you want it to do, so it's always going to be 100% accurate 100% of the time, which is, even that is still very, very rare. So let's assume that it's 95 to 99.5% accurate. That means there's going to be 5 cases every 100 where there will be some error in it. And so we are going to have a way of having that feedback loop from either the end customer or the end system to tell us that things need to be updated. Now, we've got what's called machine learning monitoring, or ML ops, in our platform that is monitoring the machine learning models at every point to know if the confidence, which is how we kind of talk about machine learning, if the machine learning model is confident that it has the right result, then it will be high 99%. If there's a drop in that and it's less confident in its prediction, then we would get a notification and we would then check the data and update the model if necessary to kind of reduce that margin of error. But you have to kind of look at that in a user interface perspective. If you're building something that end consumers will use, and they are the only ones that will know the error, you then have to figure out that feedback loop for your end users to say, hey, there was an error here. This is what it looked like. So kind of like notifying somebody of a bug, right? You want to kind of think about it in the same ways that you want people to submit an inaccuracy ticket and then kind of feed through and update the machine learning model and then push it back out so those errors don't occur again.
Yeah, interesting. And what about the sort of the future of sort of AI machine learning over the next 3 to 5 years, mate? Sort of, I mean, look, my first real engagement with this was actually recently using Google Photos. I decided to actually, because I've got a 1-year-old.
Magical, yeah.
Yeah, I got a 1-year-old. I've got all these photos of her on my phone, and I thought, wow, I better back this up. And I backed it up. I had no idea Google Photos would recognize babies and cats and all sorts of things, and just the ability to tell Google, this is my daughter, this is my partner, this is my brother, and then just do a search, and then straight away all of those photos appear in front of me. Amazing.
Yeah, and that's what we call the labeling process. So when Google Photos asks you to say, confirm that this is your daughter, and you click 5 or 6 or 10 photos, that's the labeling process to tell the AI that it's found the right stuff, right? The fact that it can even recognize faces is that massively pre-trained model part. And then you're saying, yes, well done, AI, you found the right faces. And that's that kind of labeling process. But like with Google Photos, as a fantastic example, you can ask it for, or you can put in there, show me photos of cars, show me photos of any kind of animal, or putting location. There's a whole bunch of incredible stuff that you can do with Google Photos. It kind of shows the power of AI.
I did a search for dogs, and the first result was my daughter crawling with an object in her mouth. So it wasn't 100% accurate, but it was close. But it's we talk about the value of this sort of stuff. Suddenly it brings my photos to life. I can interact, I can engage. Whereas before it was more like just shopping, going from top to bottom, looking for something, which can take, a long time. But now I can just go straight in and search for something and get immediate value out of it. So it's an incredible tool, incredible.
And I think that's where I think machine learning and AI is going to get to, is there's going to be more experiences like that, which feel like instantly magical, right? Where you're like, how did it do that? I can't believe that's now a new capability that I have in my life. And whether that's in my personal life or in my work life, it has the capability to deliver that kind of new superpowers, right? And that's how I think the next 3 to 5 years is kind of going to feel. There's going to be some of it which is going to be fully automated, and you're going to go, like we've been working on, you put something in and magically stuff comes out the other end, right? A fully automated solution to a very narrow problem. And then you're going to get into this kind of co-pilot mode where you're going to want to do something and the AI is going to do half of it, and then you're going to kind of do the other half, or maybe it's only 5% or 10%. But these kind of magical processes, workflows, solutions, I think, are going to get more and more common in both our personal life and our work life.
So look, we've learned a lot here, Asa, about sort of artificial intelligence and machine learning. I mean, certainly for businesses who want to sort of, start utilizing these services, what would be your sort of recommendation to them?
I think you've got to answer the question why, right? Because back in the day, we used to have people, we just got to do AI without really knowing what that meant or why they wanted to do it. And I think now that's still a little bit of that out there, but businesses need to think about, why should we do AI? Like what time can we save? What new money can we make? What resources can we free up? What new markets can we enter? What new customers can we make happy? Kind of start with some of those real basics of business. And then if there's an opportunity there, then AI should be brought in as one of the ways to consider solving that problem. But I think what we really do want to say, it is accessible now. And that's why we've got our platform. That's why we love doing these kinds of things and working with companies like Academy to demonstrate that it's now accessible to businesses of all shapes and sizes. You don't need experts. You don't need a lot of data. You don't need to be waiting months or years to get a payback. You can really get started, really, really quickly and easily. So we're just keen to hear people's use cases. We're working in the finance departments and the operations departments mostly at the moment. And so, people that are in those spaces thinking that things could be smarter, then we'd love to hear from them.
Great. Well, thank you for taking part in this Academy conversation, and I'll look forward to talking to you soon, mate.
Absolutely. Thanks, Patrick.
All right, take care, mate. See ya.